everyone. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Amanda. I'm the Director of Communications for Match a Resident. I'm someone that people will come to if they want to talk to us during the residency cycle, if they have questions, because as you know, I'm sure it's a very confusing cycle and it's really, really hard to find all of the information in one place. We're going to be doing an IMG Success interview, and I'm so excited for her to be joining us. It took a little bit to get this together, but I know it's going to be a great interview. And I'm so glad. If you want to tell us a little about yourself, introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Carla. I'm an old grad. I graduated in Brazil in 2016. I moved to America because I got married to an American. I fell in love and it changed all my career plans. And since then, I also fell in love with family medicine and been pursuing that.
When you started this journey, what was that like for you? Like getting all of that information together? Was it like overwhelming in the moment, realizing like, oh my gosh, I have to jump through like 10 million hoops? Like there is a lot to do, I'm not gonna lie, but.
It's a lot. And I mean, honestly, that was one of my mistakes. I didn't gather all my information before I started my journey. I just jumped right to step one. I did maybe 100 questions on UWord, took the test. Let's see what happens. Well, I failed. So, I mean, it's super overwhelming. And that was a lesson that I learned the super hard way. Please don't do that. Take your time, gather your information, research a few different sources. The Match a Resident, after I found you guys, it just opened my mind and it's like, okay, I got this. I got this.
Yeah, no, it is hard because I think it's really isolating at first until people really find this community, because there is a really strong IMG community. But I mean, the beginning of it, I mean, there's so much to know. All of the information's on different websites. All of it's confusing. You're clicking different links to figure out which date, what you need to pay for, what you need to have already in place to be able to qualify for those things. I understand. Yeah. So you said you graduated, you said 2016?
2016, yes.
Wow. Okay. So yeah, that's crazy. We get a lot of questions from older grads. So when you graduated, did you go through the match like process before that, or like what happened after you graduated?
So on my last year of medical school, I was doing a 6-month clerkship because I had some information. I just never went deep into the information as I should, because I thought like, well, it can't be too different than Brazil. That's where I'm from. Well, it is. So I was doing an observership at a hospital, and then the doctors was like, oh, you're ready. You're so smart. Just go for it. And then I went for it. And that's what happened at the time of graduation. I had a step 1 fail, and then I was moving out of the country to live with my husband. And I still wanted to practice medicine, but I didn't want to live in Brazil because his job doesn't really transfer here. So it was a bit of a challenge to get all of that together. And how I organize things after my step 1 failed that was the main thing that I talk in all my interviews for the match. It was like, it was to put myself together. It took me 4 years to try to do the step 1 again. So, and I just say, okay, so now what I'm going to do, I'm going to put the information in boxes because there's too many information. So I can't get anywhere without a step 1. So I'm going to research everything I need for the step 1. And then after I got that, and I finally passed, now I'm going to research everything for step 2. And then CK was canceled. It's like, oh, fun, new stuff. No. Let's figure this out together because nobody's really sure what I need now. But yeah, then I did that and I worked on the observerships. And honestly, what made me very nervous was every time I found advice online and somebody saying that you have to have this. You have to have USC. You have to have a first pass step 1. You have to have this core and that and a perfect English. And all of those. And I was like, I'm never going to match. This is not for me. And then I was like, Carla, boxes. So I'm still on the step one box and I'm not going to move on until I have this done.
Oh, okay. No, I love that. That's actually, I mean, that was one of the best ways to put it, because I think a lot of the time, I mean, we talk to a lot of people who have, an attempt on step one or are an older grad, and it gets in your head a lot of, okay, am I ever even going to match? What are my chances of matching? Is it even worth me doing this? Is it even worth me putting the time in? And I always feel bad because it's like, yeah, obviously this might make it a little bit more difficult for you to match, but it doesn't make it impossible. It just means that you're just maybe going to have to work a little bit harder in some other areas, but as long as I mean, you're living proof here. I mean, so do you think for yourself, like the time in between, like taking that time off to kind of like get older and learn more about yourself, do you think that really helped you like change your approach? Like you weren't just trying to jump at everything and just fly through step one, step two, step three. Now you're kind of like, okay, I need to master each thing before I move on.
Well, so it has two sides to it. It took me too long to overcome my first fail because my pride was hurt. I didn't think I could do it and go through it all again. It took me 4 years, and that's really what made me an old grad. But this time, just persevering and really said, like, well, maybe I want to go to architecture. No, I want to be a doctor. Maybe I should go and work at something. No, I want to be a doctor, and I need to organize my time. And this really taught me a lot about me, how I work, how my mind works. And I do think it made me a stronger candidate for the match, to be a resident. And I talk about this in the interviews because I'm okay with obstacles. Like I had to throw my way, and it took me a little time, but I climbed over it, and it really made me more mature.
Yeah.
Now, and then I didn't, because my fail came from rushing.
Yeah.
So I really didn't want to repeat that. And then my scores did show like, okay, she failed. And then I got 225, and then I got 243. And then it just.
You saw that you were getting better. You were progressively getting better. Yeah.
Yes. And then the program director saw that too, and that was good.
Yeah. No, I love that. So I guess, so how long did you end up like, I mean, I know you spent 4 years kind of prepping for it, but like, I guess looking back on, or like, what would you tell somebody who's like, how long do you think I should try and budget for studying for like each step, or step one or step two? Like, would you say like 6 months or like 3 months? Like, what would you say?
So I'm going to say it really depends on your schedule and your availability and your state of mind.
Yeah.
Like, because I wanted to budget all in 6 months and just get it done with, but my mind did not allow me. I couldn't just absorb anymore. I could not put 10 hours a day. That was a big no to me. I had to go down to 8, maybe 6 hours a day, and exercise and try to have a social life. It's not really a real thing at this time, but it kind of like, are you going to work? So if you're going to work during this time, maybe you want to budget like 2 years to study, to really go to your word, like go slowly once, and then put 2 months to go to really fast intense at the end. But like we can do 40 questions a day, like a block. That's ideal. But I say start with what you can.
Yeah. I mean, don't overwhelm yourself, because then you're not going to absorb any of it. Yeah,
it's not worth it because it's a lot of content. It's a lot, and if you don't really learn it, you're gonna forget it. So it's not worth it. So for me, I stayed, when I really started, when I got back in the game, it was about a year. So it's 2 years of crying, feeling sorry for myself. Then it was a year that I actually studied, and I scheduled my step one for March 2020. I did not take it March 2020.
Yeah, for obvious reasons.
I did take it in July 2020. And then for step two, I got it done 6 months. I had nothing else going on. My husband is super supportive.
Mhm.
I really had an open schedule.
Mhm.
It kind of really depends on your reality. My biggest advice is don't go crazy. You're not a machine. Don't schedule a machine schedule. Make,
Mhm.
like, if you're going to be a full job, say, okay, so what a full job is 4 hours, lunch break, 4 hours,
Mhm.
take the lunch break, eat it.
Yeah.
And make sure you schedule your breaks. Make sure you schedule your workout routine. It can be a walk, it can be anything, but we just sit all the time.
Yeah.
Can really absorb anything. So for me, because I had a really hard time with the steps, it was a month, I wish, a year, and then 6 months. And then for the ONT was just a month, if so.
Okay. Okay. Well, that's good to know. It's a good reference point. So during your 4 years that you were kind of like getting ready, were you staying medically, like were you doing stuff in the medical field? Like were you keeping stuff on your resume? Like just for people who maybe who took some time off, like what could they do while they're taking time off, you know?
Yes. So even though I did some of these overships before 2016, but what I did is I made sure to keep those doctors that I talked to within reach. I say,
Mhm.
hey, I'm still studying for the steps. Do you have any tips? Hey, when time comes, can I rotate with you? I would leave it like an open agenda kind of thing, because the observerships, they count more recently. When,
Mhm.
like, so you apply now, they're gonna look what you did within the last year. They don't really
Yeah.
care you're 5 years ago for
Yeah.
us as grads. So what I made sure to do is like, well, I need to do step one and then step two, and then I can apply. So I had all my contacts on hold, and I would go, and if I know a doctor, it's like, hey, do you know any other doctor that would take an old grad just to observe? I promise I will behave. I just need some experience, some view, and something I can put on the resume, and maybe you can write me a letter. And that's what I was doing. With those 4 years, I was networking. I wasn't really doing the clinical
Mhm.
thing. I was networking and kind of saving a spot for later, which was very useful, because as soon as I said, hey, I'm ready, do you have anything? And then I started to getting all their schedules and just making, I got like about 6 months worth of rotations closer
Wow.
to the application.
Wow, that's amazing. I love
Just,
that. So were you just sending them like emails? Like you would email them? Were you giving them a call every now and then? Like how were you
I would
exactly?
send the emails, and so I live in Sioux Falls. I live where I match. It's the first option. I'm super excited. And I would bump into them sometimes. And sometimes it's like you meet somebody that knows a doctor. I would ask, oh, your husband is a doctor? Does he have any contacts of family medicine? Like my family, my friend, her husband is a neurosurgeon. Like, you can rotate with him. It's like, I don't think so. I think he's gonna think I'm dumb. But I would just like, you really need to network.
Mhm.
That's how I got my letters and my observerships, and everything is through networking. It's just the worst they're gonna say is, oh, let me see. I'll talk to you about it later. And maybe they will never talk to you again. And that's
Yeah.
okay. Honestly,
Yeah.
everybody that promised to help me, they did.
It doesn't really matter what your chances are, whatever you need to have on your resume, how much USCE you have, all that kind of stuff. It doesn't matter. It matters how badly you want it, how passionate you are, and that you're going to keep going at it until you get it. And I feel like if that's seen by a program director, they respect that a lot.
I have this mentality that if I can't fail if I don't quit.
Exactly. No, that is the mentality though.
And that's it. And then they changed the thing. The only thing the program director I was talking to, he says like, well, you have 7 years between your step one and step three. Just make sure to have those done within 7 years so you don't lose that. And that's one timeline you have to really pay attention to. Like if they're gonna
Okay.
count for us old grads, I guess. it's really gonna come at that time. But other than that, just it's gonna be worth it. Just don't give up.
You need to have your step 1 and step 3 done within a 7-year range, you're saying?
Yes.
Is there any other like hardship or thing that you learned, especially as an older grad, that you want to talk about before we move on from that?
The biggest thing I think is I got so hung up on my first red flag right away when I graduated, which was my step 1, that I made another red flag. That was grad. And I mean, if I could go back and shake myself and say, don't just, because I was frozen for 3 years. So it's like, wake up, you can do this. Just don't give up. So when you freeze, you might just give yourself another red flag. But life happens. And I mean, I made it. You can make it. You know, it's just, come on, it's not impossible. It's just super, super hard.
Yeah. I mean, I like that advice that you gave though, like make your boxes, y'all. Make that box. What do you need to do right now? What's the first thing that you need to figure out in this journey? Find out all the information you can about that. Get it all down pat. Focus on that one step at a time. Don't get so overwhelmed by all of the things that you need to do, because once you start doing one, it's going to fall into place and it's not going to seem as difficult. Honestly, that's my opinion and my experience. I feel like that's what you're telling me as well. You just improved the more that you organized your time. You're nice to your mind. You were nice to yourself. You took care of yourself and you went after what you were passionate about. So yeah, looking back, I guess, what would you say is most memorable for you? Did you have like some memorable interviews or anything like that?
So the first memorable moment was the $sign when I was applying to the programs. I applied for 153 programs with the help of Match a Resident, which was so very helpful. Otherwise, I would have to apply to 300.
Yeah.
And I got the $3,717 pay now. Like, oh, okay. That was very memorable. It's just like, what am I doing with my life? What have I done now? I just waited.
Like, it better be worth it. It better be worth it.
So that was memorable moment. On the interview though, I was super, so I only got 5 interviews. I'm an old grad. That's like 3% turnout from the applications. But one of the interviews, I wanted to talk about my step 1 failure and how it made me a better person and how I got over it. It's like, oh, we don't care about that. We saw in your letter that you're a hard worker, you're proactive, and I really love that.
Oh. And
it's like, I stayed 4 years ruminating over my step 1 fail. We don't care about that. So when programs say they look at your application as a whole, especially family medicine, they probably do.
Oh, I love that. I love that though. It's like you could almost, if you could talk to your younger self, you'd be like, listen, girl, nobody cares. It's in your head. Just go for it. Just go after what you want. But now you're so much stronger for it. I feel like I'm like talking to a life coach right now.
Totally. Follow me for more advice. Pam. I do want to help. Like, I wish I could talk to my younger self. She was so like I had no self-confidence anymore after failing step 1. I was like, I'm a terrible doctor. I don't know why they gave me a diploma. I don't know. I didn't know that Pseudomonas was oxidase positive, which is a thing you don't need to know. You just send it to the lab. But hey, my confidence was shattered.
Yeah.
To something that doesn't even care at the end, because they do want to see if they open your application, invite you to interview, is because they're already interested in you. And the other thing is the reason why the programs liked me was in my letter of recommendations. They saying like, she's a hard worker. She will show up early, leave late. She'll do the job. She's also nice to people. I'm sure I didn't push anybody anywhere, so that was good. They do care a lot about fitting and personality and all of that. Just try to make your application interesting enough. And another thing, if you like a program, that's how I match on my first choice, let them know.
Yeah.
it's a dating game. It's a weird Tinder that you have to swipe right. Been married too long to know it's sad.
Like if they send you an email, you need to make sure you respond in a certain amount of time, or else they're gonna think you're not interested. I know what you mean. It's that little dating game. It's a little bit of a dating game.
Answer too early, but not too late. But
Yeah.
do show you're in this case, show you're interested. Just show you're interested. They need to know because they want to put on their rank list people that we ranked them back. And that really is what I think I did right.
Yeah.
Reaching out and showing I'm interested. That's how I got my doctor contacts, and that's how I, like, even with the program directors. Just don't be shy.
I feel like you really led with your personality. Like, I'm feeling like what I'm hearing is like you really utilized your connections, like through your time off. You were able to keep in contact with people, be personable, be friendly. So then when it came around time that you needed help, they were more than willing to help you. And they saw that you cared so much and you put so much work into that. So really, I think it's just letting your passion like drive you. Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
So going forward now, I mean, you're about to be starting residency. I know you said that it is where you live. So I know you're not going to be moving. So that's nice, because I know sometimes it's kind of like figuring out where you're going to live and moving everything over. It can be a bit stressful and also expensive. What would you say now, like you're here, you feel almost like probably self-realized. This is everything you've worked for so long and you're seeing your dreams come true. Like, what are you most looking forward to now?
What I'm most looking forward, I'm looking forward to people calling me a doctor and not being introduced as a student anymore. Hey, this is Carla, this is my student. And I just wanted to be, hi, I'm your doctor.
Yeah.
I can't wait. And I had some scrubs that I want to buy. Like, I have the color selected and everything, and just buying the scrubs, getting the sneakers, and having my little tag that says physician.
That's doctor. Okay. You're going to be one of those people from the rest of your life. They'll call you miss. You'll be like, it's doctor, actually. Excuse me.
Doctor. Yes.
I love that for you. I love that. I'm so excited. That sounds so exciting. I'm sure your husband is so excited for you too, because he must have watched you go through it and felt kind of bad, with all the transition to the US.
Mm-hmm. Oh, he is so proud and so excited. He does feel bad. He's sometimes like, oh, maybe I should just move to Brazil. I'll figure it out. It's like, Portuguese is not that great, honey. And I'm so blessed and so lucky to have somebody like him in my life. My parents and his parents, they always like, I know you can do it. You don't have to do it. I love you no matter what, but I know you can.
Yeah.
I don't know how long it's going to take you, but I know you can. And sometimes you just need that person. You just need to hear that on repeat. Wish I had recordings playing.
Half the battle is like believing you can do it, really, is believing that you can get through all of it, right?
Exactly. That's what froze me for 3 years. I didn't believe in myself anymore. And that got me another red flag. The problem is like, you have to take it easy, but not too easy. Don't wait, but not too long. And it's just so much. It's like, do this, but not be nice, not too nice, not too crazy. And it's what? So for me, the boxes this is the box, this is what I can handle right now. This is all I can handle. And that's what I'm going to do.
Mm-hmm.
It works. So.
Yeah. And I mean, despite your 2 red flags, despite everything, you just remain true to yourself and why you were pursuing a career in family medicine and why was important to you. And clearly it paid off.
When I match, a funny story, I guess that would be a fun fact. My husband cried. My mother-in-law cried. My mom cried. I did not move. I didn't believe for a whole week. I was so ready to go to SOAP, at least like bare minimum, because like my credentials are terrible. Like I have all this. I can only see everything I done wrong in my own application. Everybody else has perfect applications, but that's all I could see. And then it's like, you match. And it's like, you match on your first choice. And I was like, oh, cool. For a week.
Yeah.
I have a therapist. I do therapy. Recommend, highly recommend. It's like,
We
that's
all
like
recommend therapy here.
very much needed for basically everybody if you can afford it or have access to it. I mean, any kind, maybe even just a friend. She goes like, Carla, it looks like you lost somebody. It's like, well, I lost my old life. I lost my 6 years that I worked through this. And like now everything became true. And I don't know if I believe it. And then one day, a week later, I was washing my hands and I go, I'm going to be a president. I start bawling, just crying. Like,
I think we'll definitely be talking more and collabing more in the future because I feel like you are a great resource. You're so positive. You're so positive. You're so inspiring. And I'm just so grateful you joined us today.
Thank you. I had a great time talking about it. And I mean, if I can motivate one person to not give up, it's worth it. Because honestly, I watched one of the Matcha residents. It was the Instagram takeover last year. Or I think his name is like my brother Nas or something. Did a takeover and he said like, hey, I did a match first try and I'm like applying again and I went family medicine and I did it. I got in, even though I had all those bumps. And I was like, I have bumps too. Maybe I can do it. And that was just the little fire I needed to carry me to the finish line. So if I can pay this back, I mean, I'll be super happy.
So everyone who watches this, please come in. You can come to the takeover. You can also contact her on her socials. I believe it's at K Konrad Carla, right? At K with the K Konrad Carla.
Forever for K and Carla. Yep. That's
it. And we will tag that as well. So you guys can feel free to reach out to her. And thank you so much. It was such a pleasure for me. My heart feels so full after this.
Oh, thank you. It was my pleasure. It was so nice to meet you after talking to you back.
I know, back and forth. I know. Well, we'll be talking more. We'll see about, getting you more involved because I think you would be great to have. I love talking with you too, so you're not going to get rid of
it. I can do it. Okay.
Well, thank you, Carla. I hope you have a great rest of your day. And thank you, everyone, for joining us. And I hope that everyone has a great rest of their day. And good luck to everyone coming up this match season.